Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. We have more gaming and PlayStation news, rumours and leaks to go over. If you enjoyed today's video, please show your support by hitting that like button. So we have two events to look out for on the channel. Firstly, we'll be streaming Mind's Eye tomorrow in the evening, so keep an eye out for further updates on that. And the other thing is that we'll be launching the PlayStation podcast, which starts on Sunday the 15th. Keep an eye on the channel for timings. So for the first time ever, players will soon be able to play some of PlayStation's biggest first-party titles like God of War on Xbox branded hardware. And no, this is not a rumor or clickbait, this is actually real. Microsoft just revealed something pretty major, that they're launching two new handheld gaming devices. These two devices are the Rogue Xbox Ally and the Rogue Xbox Ally X. Now, what's really interesting about these handhelds is that they're not just limited to Xbox games. Because they're built on Windows, they're able to run practically any PC game, including games from Steam, the Epic Game Store and other platforms. That might not sound shocking at first, it's a Windows device after all, but here's the twist. This means that Sony's first-party PC releases like Horizon Zero Dawn, Spider-Man Remastered, Ghost of Tsushima and God of War will be playable on an Xbox branded handheld. Now let that sink in for a second, because that's quite a big deal if you're primarily a PlayStation gamer. For a while, there were rumors floating around that Sony might try to block their games from being played on devices that carry the Xbox name. It's not a stretch to think they'd want to protect their brand and exclusives, especially given how competitive the console space has always been. But Microsoft has cleared that up very quickly. In a statement to journalist Stephen Totilo from GameFile, Microsoft confirmed that since these devices run standard Windows, users will have access to any game that runs on Windows, including Sony's PC ports. In short, Sony has no control over where their PC games are being played, and they're not planning to block them either. So what does this mean? Well, this is a pretty big deal, not just for handheld gaming, but for how we think about consoles in general. For years, PlayStation and Xbox were seen as big rivals, each with their own exclusive games, separate hardware and loyal fan bases. But this move shows that the wall is definitely starting to come down, especially with how the PC gaming ecosystem is becoming the bridge between the two platforms. We've already seen over the last few years Sony start releasing more of its exclusives onto PC, which, let's be honest, that's something that would have been unthinkable a decade ago. And now with Xbox pushing Windows-based hardware that can run those very games, it's putting pressure on the whole idea of hardware exclusivity. And here's where things get even more interesting. If these Xbox handhelds run full Windows and give players access to everything, including Gamepass, Steam, Epic, and now PlayStation games on PC, then what happens when the next generation of consoles come out, especially the Xbox consoles? What if the next Xbox isn't a traditional console at all, like it's been rumored to, but more like a flexible PC in a box? One device that can play Xbox titles, Steam games, and yes, even Sony's PC ports. That would mean Xbox wouldn't just be a console anymore, it'll be a platform, maybe even the platform to own, where you can play almost everything all in one place. Now think about the PlayStation 6 for a second. If Microsoft's next console is essentially a universal gaming machine, how does Sony respond to that? Do they double down on exclusives and perhaps remove PlayStation games on PC? Is that an option? Would they consider it? Would they consider stopping the release of Xbox games onto PlayStation's platform to retaliate? Would that be possible? Or do they expand their PC presence even more? What does this mean for us players? It could be the start of a new era, one where games matter more than the hardware you play them on. An era where handhelds like the Rogue Xbox Ally give you access to massive libraries from all corners of the gaming world. And in that world, the battle just isn't about PlayStation versus Xbox anymore. It's about which platform and which publisher, I suppose, gives players the most choice. So the Microsoft branded handheld releasing in 2025 will run full Windows. And because they run full Windows, players will be able to play any PC game, including Sony's first-party titles available on Steam. Sony has no plans to block these games from running on Xbox branded handhelds. I want to hear what you guys think about this. Do you like the idea of an Xbox handheld that can run God of War and Spider-Man? Do you think this means the end of traditional console exclusivity? And where does Sony go from here? Guys, drop your thoughts in the comments down below and let's move on. During the last few days, we've seen three fairly decent gaming events. the PlayStation State of Play, the Summer Game Fest, and now the Xbox Showcase. And there's one game which stood out that a lot of people are talking about right now. Amongst the most talked about game from the three events was Mundang Two Hearts, a game developed by the Korean studio EVR Studio. It's a stealth action title that draws strong inspiration from Metal Gear Solid, but it's set against a politically charged and thought-provoking backdrop. At its core, Mundang Two Hearts explores a fictional but a very real feeling scenario. What if North Korea and South Korea were finally about to reunify into a single nation? That's a massive premise in itself, touching on decades of history, division, and tension. But just as this moment of unity is about to be made official with the signing of a reunification bill, everything falls apart. A terrorist group attacks South Korea's National Assembly, throwing the fragile peace into chaos and setting the stage for a dark and dangerous investigation. You don't just play as one character in this story, you switch between two very different characters. First, there's Ji Jung-tae, a highly trained North Korean Special Forces operative. His missions involve sneaking through hostile zones, gathering intel, and using a wide range of tactics to get past enemies. Then there's Javi, or Javi, a South Korean K-pop idol who, on the surface, seems to have nothing to do with espionage or national security, but a life under constant surveillance uncovers a different side of the conspiracy, and her role turns out to be just as vital as Jung-tae's. Both characters offer unique gameplay styles. Jung-tae's missions focus on stealth, infiltration, and combat, making use of gadgets like EMPs, motion sensing mines, and night vision goggles. He's also skilled in close quarters combat, offering players both lethal and non-lethal takedown options. Javi's story, meanwhile, revolves around surveillance, hacking, and uncovering secrets from the inside. Eventually, both narratives begin to connect, leading to a shared climax where the truth behind the attack and the larger conspiracy comes to light. The game's level design is open-ended, which means you won't be stuck on a single linear path. You'll be free to approach missions in the way that suits your playstyle. If you want to sneak through vents and avoid confrontation entirely, you can play that way. If you prefer, however, to take out guards silently and use their weapons, that's also an option in the game. One standout feature that EVR Studio is hyping up is the enemy's AI. Rather than just standing there waiting around, waiting for you to take them out, enemies will react to your actions in dynamic ways. For example, if you take down someone and leave a body lying around, others might find it and raise the alarm. If you kill the lights or make a noise, they'll go out and start to investigate. In combat situations, they will try to flank you or work as a team to try and trap you. It sounds like the kind of system that rewards patience and strategy, which is perfect for fans of tactical stealth games. On top of the gameplay, the developers are promising seamless cinematic cutscenes and a story that changes based on the choices you make in the game. There will also be challenging boss fights designed to push your combat and decision-making skills to their limits. Mundang Two Hearts is set to release sometime in 2026, and it will be available across PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. This game looks absolutely amazing, guys. You see it playing in the background during this part of the video. I'm loving the trailer and the whole tactical espionage stealth action game. Let me know what your thoughts are on this game. Let me know in the comments down below, and let's move on. So we got a new look at the Blood of Dawnwalker, an upcoming dark fantasy action RPG game being developed by Rebel Wolves, which is a studio that was being led by one of the key creative minds behind The Witcher 3. The game also made an appearance during the Xbox Showcase, but its real spotlight is coming on June the 21st. That's when the team is hosting a 45-minute long live stream on their Twitch channel featuring 15 minutes of new gameplay footage and an in-depth commentary from the developers themselves. The Blood of Dawnwalker is set in a reimagined version of 14th century Europe. The game takes place during one of the darkest times in human history. Europe is torn apart by war, and the Black Death is spreading uncontrollably. And while people struggle to survive, another threat rises in the shadows, and they are the vampires. These aren't just your typical monsters hiding in castles. This is a well-organized group of powerful bloodsuckers ready to take advantage of a continent in chaos. You'll play as Cohen, a man who walks a dangerous line between two worlds. He's become what's known as a Dawnwalker, a being that's no longer fully human, but hasn't completely turned into a vampire either. It's a cursed existence full of temptation and power, and the story begins when Cohen is forced to make a decision that changes everything. He has just 30 in-game days and nights to either save his family or hunt down and destroy the vampire who turned him. And what's compelling here is that the game is built around moral choice and consequences. Cohen's thirst for blood is not just a gameplay mechanic, it's actually part of the game's narrative. Feeding on others might make him stronger, but it could also push him further away from his humanity. The big question the game asks is, how far would you go to protect the people that you love, and what would you be willing to give up? The gameplay will explore these themes through a mix of combat, storytelling, and character development, and as Cohen unlocks new abilities linked to his Dawnwalker nature, players will be able to customize how they fight and interact with the world. As of now, there's no official release date for the Blood of Dawnwalker, but with more gameplay being shown later this month, fans are hoping Rebel Wolves will have more news to share soon, including a release date. Another game that I really liked the look of during the presentations this week. Fascinated to learn more about this game on June 21st when we get around 45 minutes of insight and gameplay. Let me know if you're looking forward to this game, guys, and let's move on. Gears of War Reloaded, we know, is coming to PlayStation 5, and we're finally getting our first hands-on look through 2 upcoming multiplayer beta weekends. So Gears of War has always been closely tied to Xbox. It's one of those legacy titles that helped define the Xbox 360 era with its gritty third-person combat, cover mechanics, and that unforgettable chainsaw bayonet. So seeing it make its debut on the PlayStation console is a pretty big deal, and it's clear that Microsoft is serious about expanding its audience beyond just the Xbox ecosystem. I think we can take that now as a given. If you've pre-ordered Gears of War Reloaded through the PlayStation Store, you will get early access to the multiplayer beta. The first test session kicks off at 12 PM Pacific time on Friday, June the 13th, and it runs through the weekend until Sunday, June the 15th. Then there's a second chance the following weekend from Friday, June 20th to Sunday, June 22nd, the same time slots. These betas are not just stress tests, they're a chance to see how well the remastered version of Gears runs on new hardware. The first weekend focuses on classic team deathmatch mode across 3 returning maps that longtime fans of the game will definitely remember. Those are Gridlock, Raven Down, and Gold Rush. Then for the second weekend, the developers are mixing it up by adding King of the Hill to the lineup and bringing in 3 more iconic battlegrounds, and these are Canals, Courtyard, and War Machine. There are also a few incentives for those who pre-order, and you'll get access to special character skins to use in multiplayer. This includes Adam Phoenix, the father of the series hero Marcus Phoenix, and Anya Stroud, a key support character and voice of reason for Delta Squad throughout the original games. It's a nice bit of fan service for long-time players whilst also offering something cool for newcomers. So if you're a long-time Gears fan, or maybe you've never had the chance to try it because you only game on PlayStation, this is your chance. It's going to be fascinating to see how well it performs and how the PlayStation community receives it. As someone who's played the original Gears of War on Xbox, it's one of my favourite games, and to see it being brought back to a modern, current generation console is great, and even more so that I get to experience it on the PlayStation platform. I just hope we get to see the full game release on disc, otherwise it's a pass for me and I'll have to pick it up when it hits sale sometime in the near future. Guys, let me know your thoughts about Gears and whether you're looking forward to picking this up when it releases. Let's move on. The Outer Worlds 2 is Obsidian's follow-up to the 2019 sci-fi RPG that was pretty well received for its quirky characters, player-driven choices, and unique humour. So far, everything shown from The Outer Worlds 2 looks like it's going to be a worthy sequel for players and fans of that game. The style, tone, and gameplay all seem to be in line with expectation, but there is one detail that's gotten a lot of people talking, and not in a very good way, and that is the price. On its official Steam listing, The Outer Worlds 2 is marked as a full price release, $80 in the US and £70 in the UK. Now that's a noticeable jump, and it's caused some backlash amongst some gamers. Microsoft has already mentioned that they're raising the price of some of their games starting this year, and this game is one of the first to reflect that change. Now it's worth noting that Sony and Nintendo have also taken heat for similar price increases over the last couple of years. It seems like we're entering a new era where AAA games are regularly going to be priced higher, especially at launch. But I wonder if this is a particular strategy certainly by Microsoft, which others may adopt at a later stage. And I'll tell you what I mean. With the development costs rising and expectations growing, publishers are obviously going to look to recoup investment, but that doesn't mean everyone's happy about it. The Outer Worlds 2 will also be available on Gamepass from day one, so if you're a subscriber, you'll be able to play the game as part of your monthly plan. And that raises another question. As I said, think about strategy. Is this Microsoft's way of pushing more people towards Game Pass? Think about it, right? If you're looking at an $80 price tag on one hand and a $10 to $15 monthly subscription on the other hand, the subscription all of a sudden starts to look like the better deal, especially if you're someone who plays lots of games multiple times a year. Over a period of time, Game Pass could save you a lot of money, even though you're not technically owning these games, and you will lose access to the entire library when you stop subscribing. So you're subscribing for life. This strategy isn't without risk though, because many people feel like they're being pushed into a subscription model whether they like it or not. And that's what I mean here. Those that don't subscribe may choose to just wait for a sale rather than paying that high price. But where does that leave us? Are higher priced games going to keep pushing players towards subscription services like Game Pass? Or are players going to resist and simply wait for discounts? Maybe some will still choose to buy the game outright, especially if they're passionate about supporting the developers. But for many, cost is king, isn't it? Money talks. And the idea of paying one monthly fee for access to a big library of games is going to be hard to pass up. So what are your thoughts here, guys? Is this strategy of pricing games at a higher price whilst promoting get it day one on Game Pass, is this strategy from Microsoft going to work? Will it push more people towards Game Pass? I think it will. Personal opinion, I think it will push more people towards Game Pass. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Is $80 too much for a new game? Does Game Pass feel like a smart alternative? Especially when you pay once and you can play it on PC, you play it on your handheld, and you can play it on your console. You don't have to double or triple dip, if you know what I mean. Okay guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm curious about how you guys feel about the content discussed in the video today, and I'll catch you on the next video.